Hello all and welcome back to the part 3 of the skill tree preview and discussion on how it will go. And today we got the last skill tree, which is the Dreadnought. So the Dreadnought skill tree will start with auxiliary tanks and fortifies. Auxiliary tanks increases Wolf and Saint's duration and cooldown rate. Wolf and Saint duration from 2 to 10 seconds. Wolf and Saint cooldown rate from 3 to 15 seconds. Now I think this is a lot needed skill for the Wilhelm, since his action skills cooldown rate is really long. The cooldown time was it 45 seconds? That's really long time, and you're gonna want to use that as often as you can, since it will give you so many buffs. And yeah, the 2 to 10 second duration bonus isn't bad neither, but the main focus I think here is the 15 seconds of cooldown, because 45 seconds minus 15, to my count it's 20 seconds. So 20-second cooldown ain't that long anymore. So in previous videos I kind of complained about that. Yeah, you know, the cooldown is so long that you can fuck yourself in the ass if you kind of run into a situation where you can use your action skill and there's like a badass or something, or super badass. But since this is very early in the tree, it's the first skill you can take, it would be very viable to take this skill, even though if you won't go through this skill tree, and since it will really help you out. I think it was the first skill tree where I came to a conclusion that this will be a really powerful tree as long as you have the action skill going on. So this skill is a must-have to take if you're going through the first skill tree. And the second skill, Fortify, increases max health for you and Wolf. Additionally, while Saint is active, you deal increased damage with all gun types. Maximum health from 3 to 15%, Wolf maximum health also 3 to 15, weapon damage 4 to 20%. Now this is a pretty good buff, but it only applies when you have the action skill on, so I would put my skill points on the auxiliary tanks, because the action skill already kind of gives you good damage boost because of the Wolf, and it gives you more health because of the Saint. So while the Fortify skill would buff that up even further, I think, in my opinion, in my playstyle, I prefer to have the buffs constantly and in every situation where I need them. So if I put them in Fortify, there would become a lot more situations that, you know, should I use my action skill now, or is there going to be a bigger threat just behind the corner, and then I don't have my action skill anymore. So yeah, Fortify can be good after auxiliary tanks, but I think the 15 seconds of cooldown is almost a must-have regardless of which tree you go, unless you don't use your drones at all, which I find really odd if you don't. Yeah, I really value the cooldown rate, but the Fortify skill ain't bad either. Next we have Energize and Heat Sinks. Energize. Saint will occasionally boost the shields of you and your friends. Additionally, Saint gains an increase to the rate which he regenerates your health. Occasionally restores from 8 to 40% of your shield capacity. Saint regenerates 0.6 to 3% of your max health per second. So it doesn't tell you how likely it is that the Saint will bolster your shields. It just tells it's 8 to 40% the boost, but we have no idea that how often this will happen. And 3% health regeneration isn't bad by any means. It's pretty okay, but at least on the, I don't know, yeah, 3% not bad at all, especially since the Saint can't die and it will be around for a while. Was it 35 seconds? And if you have put the auxiliary tanks, it's gonna be a while right there healing you for 45 seconds, which is pretty long time. And it has a chance to bolster your shields, which is also a really nice thing. Actually, the 40% of your shields that ain't a lot. But it's a very early skill, and it's mostly, I guess, that you have a random chance of just getting a little bit of shields, and just the 3% health regen is pretty good. It's not bad, but I believe this is one of those tank trees, so you might want to check this up if you want to be a total tank. Heat sinks improves shield recharge rate and shield recharge delay. This bonus is doubled while Wolf and Saint are on cooldown. Shield recharge rate from 6 to 30%, shield recharge delay from 4 to 20%. Now this is pretty good, you are a tank, so usually I'm tanking with health, but of course you can tank with shields, and having 30% more recharge rate and having minus 20% to the delay is, yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good, and in comparison to the Energize, it'll be on all the time, regardless if you have your action skill on or off. If you have the action skill on, however, it'll double it, meaning recharge rate of 60% and recharge delay of 40%, which is pretty good. Actually, it's really good. So, this could be one of those things that, maybe you should put couple of points in each one, unless you are, you're not so keen on using shields. Then the heat sinks ain't that good, but the Energize will be a really viable option. I actually have no idea what would I do, but it would probably be a couple points in each. And I tend to quite much use shields when I'm not, purposefully tanking. When I'm purposefully tanking, I would like to have as much health and damage reduction as much as possible, and health regen would be a very good addition. But usually while I'm tanking, I don't bother using good shields, or I just use shields that give me more damage or whatever. But yeah, I think this is that you can't go wrong with either one. Probably both of them will work in most scenarios, but I think the energize will be a bit more reliable, because if you are in the middle of the battle and getting hit from left, right, above, everywhere, the shields they're not going to recharge regardless. Even if there would be 80% recharge delay, they won't still recharge. So then the energize will be a lot better option. But the heatsinks can be pretty good, especially if you're if you prefer long-ranged combat, you know, like sniper rifles and stuff like that. Then it can be really good to pop out of cover, take a couple of shots, go back, and your shields will be back in no time. Next we have a termination protocol, and this is a very interesting skill. It changes how the fight for your life works. So fight for your life is replaced by termination protocol. During termination protocol, you can walk at a reduced speed, fire your weapons, and you constantly shock your nearby enemies. If the timer runs out, your power core goes critical, releasing a nuclear explosion. Now this is, I think, quite similar to the light diffuse with the Krieg character on Borderlands 2, and I kind of like it. And you know, we don't know how good the shock damage will be to nearby enemies. Probably not a lot, but it can be pretty good if there is someone with, let's say, full shields, and you just go straight at him and he will really rapidly lose all the shields. And being able to move faster is really good. I'm quite sure you cannot be revived by friendlies with termination protocol. I don't know. It doesn't say that you can, but I'm quite sure you cannot be revived, because otherwise it would be quite easy to just run out of situation and their body would be able to heal you behind cover. And it doesn't neither say that if you go nuclear, is there a chance of second wind. I believe you do get the second wind if you go nuclear, but it doesn't tell you. There's just no, I guess there's no reason to go nuclear if you can't get a second wind. But it's all Borderlands and you never know. But I'm quite sure you can have a second wind by exploding, because Borderlands. Next we have rapid reinforcement, 0 hour and hazmat containment system. Rapid reinforcement, kill skill. Killing an enemy increases your cooldown rate for Wolf and Saint, and increases your movement speed and reload speed for a short time. Movement speed from 3 to 15%, reload speed from 8 to 40%, action skill cooldown rate 4%. So it's a kill skill, again, a kill skill. You know what I think about kill skills, they're not that good, they can be okay, but it's a big restriction. So what does it offer you? 15% movement speed, basically nothing. Do you need 15% movement speed? Probably won't, because you're not a melee character. You are a tank, but I wouldn't find a lot of use, even if it would be better. If it would be significantly better, well, why not? But what else do we have? 50% reload speed. Well, that's a pretty good thing. Yeah, 40%. 40% reload speed is, yeah, it's pretty good, but it's a kill skill. And then we have the cooldown rate of 4% on action skills. So, and you know, 4% that does not scale up ain't very good. It ain't very good at all. You know, this could be that you put 1 point on it just to get that action skill cooldown of 4%. Because we all love to get those drones up early. So next we have 0 hour. When Saint is recalled or expired, he explodes, deploying a healing zone underneath you. You and your friends regenerate health while standing in the zone. Healing zone duration 12 seconds. Regenerates 8% of your maximum health per second. So this is pretty good skill because it only takes the 1 point and it makes this zone that we have no idea how big it is, but probably big enough for a 4-player co-op to get in, you know, relatively easily, but it's not gonna be superbly big. And being there 12 seconds is pretty healthy amount. I would have, you know, I would have guessed that it's like 5 seconds or 6 seconds from the text, but then it said in the end that it's 12 seconds, so it's pretty healthy amount of time, and it regenerates 8% of your maximum health per second, meaning that you will get, if you don't get additional hits, it will heal you up to 100%, which is pretty damn good. And there's no bullshit like, you know, the lower your health is, it's 8% regardless of what your health is, and that is pretty good. And when all your friends get that as well, it's amazing. This is some skill that you just gonna have to have, and it won't trigger a lot, but you know, if you like recall your drones, you're probably taking some damage, and since you're probably going to be the tank of the group, or if you're playing solo, then you're playing solo, so you probably have taken just at least some bit of health damage. So when you recall your drone, you're gonna be every single time 100% health when you go to the next engagement. And even if it's mid-fight that your action skill expires, well, then you're gonna get mid-fight 100% health, or just being able to resist a lot of damage because you're regenerating your health so quickly. The only problem with that is that you're pretty much immobile unless you can stay out of sight from enemies. It won't be a problem, but if, let's say, the action skill expires when you're on the open ground, you can be pretty fucked. But of course you can exit that zone, but you won't get the health boost. So the last skill from here is Hazmat Containment System. If you have a fire, shock or corrosive status effect on you, you and your friends gain increased resistance to that element. Additionally, you will occasionally spread that status effect to nearby enemies while it's active. Element resistance from 17 to 85%. That is really good. You know, the Gunzerker used to have 50% resistance to elements, and that was really good. This is 85. That's just huge. If you put 3 skill points in this, it's already 51. And your friends get it as well. So if you're playing as a group, you know, this can be something that can save your friends' lives a lot, as well as yours. But yeah, you know, you should always have a friend with this skill going on. and you have some kind of chance of spreading your status effect on enemies, which they probably need to be quite close to you. There's no details on how close do they have to be, and do they get the exact same copy of that effect on them, and so forth. It doesn't tell you. But even if there wouldn't be any chance of doing any of that, 85% resistance is just really good. Really good. But it won't give you any protection against the new Cairo weapons. It's only fire shock and corrosive. Also, if the slag weapons are in this game, it won't neither give any protection against that. But otherwise, this is really good skill to have. At least a couple of points would be very reliable to put. You know, if you're going through this line of skill trees and you just want to go to the capstone as quick as you can or whatever, and be kind of forced to put 5 skills on these 3, I would put 1 on the kill skill to get that 4% action skill cooldown, 1 to the 0 hour, and 3 to this to get 51% resistance to fire shock and corrosive, meaning that you have pretty good resistances to damage dealing elementals. Then we have the kinetic armor and hard to kill. Kinetic armor permanently increases your maximum health. Close range attackers have a chance to be struck with explosive force. The closer the enemy is, the higher the chance for detonation is. Maximum health from 5 to 25%, explosive chance up to 5 to 25%. So I believe this means that they have to damage you, because it says close range attackers. So I'm quite sure they either have to be close or they have to damage you at close, but yeah, I'm quite sure it's when they damage you, because there's the explosion chance. So how would it calculate that? Every second or every time you get hit? I have no idea. But yeah, it's pretty random and fun idea to have enemies randomly exploding around you. Why the fuck not? And 25% maximum health. That's, yeah, pretty good. And what's the second skill? Hard to kill. Whenever you are shot or struck by an enemy, you gain a stack of hard to kill, reducing all damage received. All stacks are removed after a few seconds of taking no damage. Damage reduction from 0.1 to 0.5% on stack. Max stacks 100. So you can get really fast these stacks. You know, if there's someone with SMG or something like that, some really high rate of fire weapon, you can actually get those stacks going up really fast. And if they're up to 100%, I mean the 100 stacks, and you have maxed this skill out, it means 50% damage reduction, which is pretty good. And if you have the elemental resistances from the previous skills, it can be pretty hard to kill you, and you can also have all these health regeneration going on, and so you can be a quite a tank with this. The only problem is that the stacks won't start to decay. They completely and utterly vanish after a couple of seconds, and in Borderlands they really do mean 2 or 3 seconds. So yeah, I think this is kinda situational. It's not really good or it's not really bad, but it's one of these skills that if you put only one, it ain't gonna do any good, because maximum of 10% damage reduction ain't a lot, so you kinda have to invest on it. If you compare the kinetic armor and the hard to kill, which one would I go with? The kinetic armor is not situational. It gives you flat out 20% more health, so you don't have to kind of think. You can just act. You can just go kill when your health is low. Then you have to have a trouble, and you have a chance of exploding enemies. The hard to kill, it's kind of like, you know, you kind of purposefully have to try to get hit by small enemies while avoiding big enemies. So yeah, not too keen on hard to kill. It's good on paper, but try to do well in this. I bet it's gonna be pretty hard to, because you have to get hit within a couple of seconds all the time, or this will decay utterly. And being hit every 2 seconds, it's gonna get you killed quite fast, unless the saint heals you ridiculously fast. But yeah, I'm not too excited about the hard to kill. Kinetic armor can be fun, and all that random exploding can be pretty fun. And it doesn't tell you what's the max range, but I'm quite sure there's a max range. It would be really, really, really funny when someone is sniping you from a great distance and then just suddenly he just explodes to bits. That would be very Borderlands-like, but yeah, you know, kinetic armor is the way to go in my opinion. Of course, hard to kill can be extremely good in situations when there's a lot of small enemies hitting you again and again and again and again and again, and you can't go to cover, or you maybe don't anymore need to go to cover because you get so good damage reduction. But as soon as there's like 1 or 2 big enemies with rocket launchers or snipers, this skill becomes totally irrelevant. You don't gain any use from it whatsoever. So, moving on to the capstone. Overcharge. Immediately after being summoned, Saint will release an energy wave that will overcharge you and any nearby friends for a short duration. Overcharged players gain increased movement speed, fire rate, reload speed, and ammo regeneration. Movement speed 50%, reload speed 75%, fire rate 75%, ammo regeneration 10, duration 10 seconds. So movement speed 15. Yeah. Maybe if you kind of combine this with the kill skill, yeah, you know, up to 30% movement speed, that can get you somewhere. Just flat out 15, and I don't notice it. But, you know, some people will, some people like it. It can give you the edge. I don't personally use that extra movement speed for anything, of course, it is situational, but usually, yeah, you kind of have to think before you do. But reload speed of 75%, yeah, that's good, really good. Fire rate 75%. Are you kidding me? That's, yeah. Having fire rate and reload speed 75% more. Yeah. Yes, please. And also ammo regeneration of 10, which is okay. It's pretty good. Yeah. You know, this is... I think it's fairly suitable capstone for this tree, you know. It just makes you and your friends really... You really kick ass for 10 seconds, especially since the wolf and the saint are also there helping you. Wolf just shooting out people and the saint is buffing you. This is so much. Yeah, you know, I think this skill tree is not superbly good when playing solo, but playing this skill tree with friends is going to be very profitable. There's a lot of skills that allow you and your friends to be buffed, and you can be the first in the fight to be able, because you're able to get drain so many shots. You can just take the punishment and let the friends do the shooting. Of course, you will shoot at the same time, but you know what I mean. You're a tank in this. But, you know, I don't so much enjoy tanks just as tanks. Of course, I think they have to be more on damage dealers. But that's just my opinion. And I would go with this skill as like a support tree, basically. So that I would go with the skill tree that buffs a lot the wolf, and maybe take here the action skill cooldown reduction, and maybe even the energize. And if I would go up to the energize, the termination protocol wouldn't be bad. And then I would be tempted to take on that 85% element of resistance, and yeah, maybe 0 hour. But the auxiliary tanks having 15% cooldown reduction on action skill and 10% more length to the action skill, I think that's a must-have, and it doesn't matter what tree you're going. Even the cyber commando, I would still take this, because this is very, very, very good. It almost halves the amount of time you have to wait for your action skill to arrive, and it even extends the time it's going on. Even if this would be only the cooldown reduction, I would still take it, no doubt. And yeah, you know, Wilhelm, really badass looking character. What kind of build would I go with the Wilhelm? Not sure. Very, very, very tempted to go to the Cyber Commando to gain all those bionic upgrades, make Wilhelm even more badass looking. But now that I found that auxiliary tanks skill, the hunter killer skill tree is it's on. It's very good skill tree if you combine it with just this one skill. It's very good. But I'd still probably go with the Cyber Commando just because, for the sake of badass. It's just so badass. And yeah, you know, I am quite, this is like plus minus 0 character. It doesn't have any skill trees that are bad. None of them are bad, but none of them are neither superbly good. While the Nisha was that every skill tree seemed like pretty powerful. This skill, the Wilhelm is more like, I think, balanced. The Wilhelm is more balanced on, you know, having more health and more reduction and having skills that help party members and dealing a bit more damage and reload speed and everything with balance. The Nisha was more like more damage, more reload speed, more accuracy, and that's about it. Of course, there were the tree where you can tank a lot, but was the law and order. But overall, the Nisha tree were a lot more aggressive and damage dealing. This Wilhelm is more like, I think Wilhelm is more like if you don't kind of know perfectly well that how the Borderlands works, or you're not so good at dodging bullets and just making those quick headshots, this will be a very balanced character. You can just go on, take the biggest gun you can find, take some hits, make some return fire, and you're gonna be just fine. And at the same time, you're gonna look the biggest badass of all your friends. So, do I like Wilhelm? Yeah, I like Wilhelm a lot, and I will definitely be waiting anxiously to be able to play as Wilhelm, see all the cyber commando upgrades, make his voice as robotic as possible, and kick some ass. So this concludes our pre-release looks on Wilhelm's skill trees. Please share your thoughts about Wilhelm and this skill tree and overall Wilhelm builds, and how are you going to play as him, and how you think the character is going to play like. And do you like what we have seen now, or do you think that it's just piece of shit and it isn't good for anything because it's kinda so balanced? Just let me know in the comments, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you in the next video.